everyone, how's it going? Welcome to Wild Rift patch notes 3.4a. We got our first look of this patch last week, but now we have the official notes and all the changes that will be happening. So some of it is still the same as last week, but some of it has been changed since last week as well. So I'm here to give you all an update look at patch 3.4a, which will be released tomorrow. The first thing is ranked. We have our new rank season, which we start in October 13th. So I believe that's about 2 weeks away now until the until the new season of ranked. They're also making some changes to legendary queue, so they're completely resetting legendary queue as well as ranked. What they're doing is they're doing the whole champion score thing that they were saying in the patch preview, and launch the champion score required will be very low, just a few games played. We intend to tune the system, but didn't want to be too restrictive right out the gate. You always have access to every champion you have enough mastery in, regardless of the role you're assigned. We've implemented protection to make sure players aren't focused to play off-role picks by the system. I think this is really, really big, because I think the one thing that people were worried about was, you know, oh, what if I get jungle, but I play no jungle champions? You know, if that does happen and you don't have any champions, you know, it says here, if you're assigned to a role that you have less than 3 champions available to pick, who are tagged for that role with enough mastery, the system will stretch. So it will stretch out to allow you to play other champions. So I think that's really the big thing about it. But I kind of like this new mastery system thing. It makes it so people don't first time champions in legendary queue. Makes it a lot more competitive, because people will be playing their comfort picks and people will be playing their comfort roles at the same time. So you could just go and play normal ranked and play like the new champions that are coming out, for example. You'll be allowed to play your highest available mastery champion in that role. This is implemented so if for example an ADC main is autofill jungle, there you go. It's kind of a cool example because it's kind of me, I guess, in a way, because jungle is always my last role. We want to make sure they wouldn't be forced to play their awesome MF as a jungle, but would instead have something more suitable to play. So yeah, I think this is a really, really cool change. In addition to this as well, at the start of the season, we'll also be resetting everyone's rank back to commander. I think this is a big thing. I think some people were expecting a soft reset like normal ranks, but it's going to be a full reset. You're going to go all the way back to the start to Commander 4, but they're not resetting the MMR. So that means that your MMR from the first season, so from this season, will stay for the new season. So you're probably going to be playing maybe more competitive games, and you'll get more points if you're a higher rank, depending on your MMR state. It will also provide everyone with the opportunity to once again prove they deserve their rank. I think also with this, there was this big massive thing at the start of legendary queue where everyone was getting inflated and everyone was getting a lot of LP per win and per wins. So they're basically going to reset it now, go back to the start, and hopefully this will sort things out. So if you go from immortal to commander and all your teammates are commander, the matchmaker will still make sure your teammates are all players with similar MMR and therefore skill to you as you make your climb once again, which is pretty awesome. And then we have the changes to a legendary queue season starts and weekly hours every single day. So you got Beijing times here if you want to pause the video for your time zone, and then please do feel free. I will be going all the way down to Europe server, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They're changing it. I'm pretty sure it was open at 11, maybe it was open at 12, I'm not too sure, but it's going to be 12 CEST that is going to open, and it's going to close at midnight CEST. So it's basically, you got 12 hours. You got 12 hours to get it running. The first unlock is going to be October 27th, which is still quite a long way away. I believe it's 2 weeks after normal rank. So you have a couple of weeks to grind normal ranked, and the legendary queue will start at the end of October. So I think that is fairly interesting that you got like a couple of weeks in normal ranked. I guess it's kind of similar to what they did before. It's normal ranked first, you grind normal ranked, and then you get to ranked you want to, then legendary queue comes out, and then you're able to play that and you're able to grind that. So yeah, very interesting. Like I said, if you want to look at your time zone, then you can pause the video there. A few new events, Supreme Cells, we got the new skins coming out, which will be happening October 8th. So I'm really excited for that. I think it's Kennen, Set, and Zed. So there's some cool new skins coming out for that. And Power Spike Party, sorry, which is their 2-year anniversary event, which is October 12th. So the day before the new rank season comes out, which is awesome. All right, champion changes. First up is Ahri. Ahri is getting a nerf to her passive essence theft. The base heal on takedown is getting reduced. The base is getting reduced, and also the AP ratio is getting reduced. This is the same as the first look that we got to see last week. So this is pretty much the same as what I said before. I did think that Ahri was in a pretty strong spot in mid lane. I did feel like she was a very, very easy champion to play in mid. She had a lot of mobility with the resets of her ultimate, a lot of healing as well. So they're just reducing her healing, excuse me, ever so slightly, just making sure that she's not completely overpowered. But I still think that she'll be in a fine spot even after this. Camille, interesting enough, is getting some buffs this patch. She has been nerfed for like the past 6 patches in a row, I feel like, because they're trying to nerf her down. But apparently she's not, you know, maybe she's not as strong as what they want her to be. I don't know, it's really interesting. You know, you nerf a champion 6 or 7 times in a row, and then one little dip in win rate, and then she's going to get buffed again. So increasing her health per level to make her a little bit tanky, and also increasing her tactical sweep damage. Before tactical sweep got nerfed, the slow ratio got nerfed, so now they're increasing damage, but the damage is quite a lot in the early game. You know, it's going up by 20 at level 1, 15 at level 2, 10 at level 3, and 5 at level 4. So I think the early game poke is going to be a lot more potent now on Camille, so it might be very interesting to see if you go for like maybe you know, second ability as your first level, and you can use this to poke in the early game. Could be very interesting. Right, Ekko's changes is a little bit different. So in the first look, which I've got on my other screen, in the first look, the time under bonus damage to monsters got reduced from 130 to 120%. This time it's going from 130 to 120%. However, they're also reducing the passive damage as well. So instead of this going down to 110%, they brought it back up a little bit to 120%, and now the passive has also been lowered. They're really trying to basically cut down Ekko in the jungle, because he is a very, very strong pick at the moment. They tried to nerf fleet footwork. They thought that would be enough. That wasn't enough. They've already nerfed his passive before. Basically, that wasn't enough. People still playing it, so now they're going to nerf it for a 3rd time. So 3rd time it's been nerfed now. Ekko jungle, we'll have to see if this is enough. To be fair, 10% on each numbers I don't think will be too much. I still think that Ekko can clear the jungle quite quickly, and I think his damage is a real problem. I think his scaling is the big problem. His scaling in the mid and late game is so strong. He gets so much damage and so much burst potential in the mid and late game. Very, very interesting. Evelynn is getting some nerfs. I have been playing Evelynn. I will be continuing my A to Z guide very soon. I have got some gameplay, and I will be recording the guide for Evelynn very soon. But Evelynn's getting a nerf to her hate spike AP ratio. It's going just down by 5%. So that is still the same as what it was on Friday. It's an interesting nerf, because I feel like the higher you go, the more difficult it becomes to play Evelynn, because people understand how to play around Evelynn, whether it's with pink wards, whether it's with playing passive during laning phase or anything like that. I think it's very, very difficult to play Evelynn when you get to higher ranks, but maybe she's dominating lower elos. Obviously, I don't really know that for sure, but I feel like Evelynn is definitely a champion that could definitely, you know, destroy at lower elos in the game. Gwen is getting a very, very interesting buff on top of the Riftmaker buff that's happening as well. The base stats, the health is going up from 610 to 660 health. So that means that extra 50 health in the early game, which will help her laning phase a lot. They're nerfing her monster damage ever so slightly, because Gwen jungle has been quite popular. I did play it once, and I did feel like the jungle clear was very, very fast. So no surprise on that one. But then they're also buffing the base damage, the final snip base damage, and also the initial snip base damage. So even though they're nerfing the maximum monster damage ever so slightly on the passive, they're buffing her first ability. So a little bit of extra damage with the first snip, and a little bit of extra damage for the final snip. So this makes her a lot stronger in the laning phase, especially with the health buff in the early game, and also with the Riftmaker buff as well. I think she's definitely going to be in a very, very strong spot. We're already seeing her quite a lot in competitive, so it'll be quite interesting to see how she ends up. Karma, the second ability, is getting increased in cooldown, and also the non-mantra movement speed is also going down by 15%. This is a big nerf. This nerf here is, you know, the extra movement speed that you can get on the third ability was so strong. You could just use this on yourself or on an ally. You got a crazy burst of movement speed. That movement speed is being nerfed. I do feel like the shield power itself is still very strong. Obviously, with the new support items with Imperial Mandate, I still think the Karma will be one of the strongest supports in the next in the meta, even after these nerfs. Cooldown on the second ability, I don't think it really means too much because you build a lot of ability haste anyway. And maybe the movement speed might affect a little bit. But I still feel like the shielding power is so strong and her damage is still very, very strong. So we'll have to see how this ends up for Karma. But I still think she'll be in a pretty strong spot. Kassadin, the second ability, is going up in cooldown. I think this is pretty big for Kassadin. Because laning phase, what mainly happens with Kassadin is that you use your second ability first, you just poke with your second ability, or you farm at distance, and you can easily scale into mid and late game. You don't have to play aggressive at all. The second ability has insane amount of range. I think that's a big problem with the second ability, is that the range of it is very, very strong. You basically become a ranged champion. So increasing the cooldown means that you might miss a few minions in the laning phase, but I still think it'll be fine. And then the nerfing the mana percentage on the Rift Walk damage, but everything else is staying the same. The base damage and also the ability power ratio is staying the same. It's just the extra damage you get depending on mana is going down by 0.5%. This is probably the biggest surprise to me, this Nautilus buff, because I really feel like Nautilus is in a very, very strong spot at the moment, you know, in competitive and in solo queue, because of how much CC and how tanky he is. And they're adding even more CC on top of that as well. You know, the stun duration on the passive is going from 0.75 to 1.5 seconds to now 1 to 1.75 seconds based on level. So this means your auto attacks, when you're going around auto attacking, stunning with your auto attacks, this will be increased. And also the cooldown's been reduced as well on Dredgeline by 1 second at every single rank. So it means that he's going to be a lot more mobile around the map, because some players like to use the first ability to get around the map a lot quicker. It means that you got more engage opportunity as well, more CC. It's just pretty crazy. You know, I'm interested. You know, Nautilus haven't made the impact that we'd like to see in higher levels of play, so increasing duration of the stun provided by his passive and reduce the cooldown Dredgeline, so you can hook, line, and sink your foes a few more times over the course of the games. I love these, by the way. I absolutely love these, but I don't know, higher levels of play, I'm seeing it quite a lot in competitive at the moment. I feel like Nautilus is very, very strong. Maybe in solo queue he's not that strong. I feel like in competitive he definitely is very strong at the moment. So yeah, very, very interesting play changes. Pyke's performance as a support has been somewhat lackluster, even as players have invested many games to master him. We're giving him a few adjustments to help him scrap enemies in laning, whilst limiting his ability to wave clear to ensure he doesn't effectively use his newly buffed power to shove and roam. So yeah, this basically the damage to non-champions on the first ability. It's kind of a nerf to mid lane Pyke in a way as well. So mid lane Pyke's been nerfed, and also this reduces kind of you helping your ADC push in the bot lane so you can roam around. But I think the mana cost going down is quite big. This is probably not 550, this is probably 50, 55, 60, 65, but the mana cost going down is pretty big, because then you can use it more often during the laning phase to try and maybe look for some hooks that you might not hit, but you can still, you know, try and hook and try and land if you want to, because the mana has been reduced. And also the cooldown of the third ability has gone down by you know, 1.5, 1, 0.5, and then nothing at maximum rank. But the early game is quite big, you know, 1.5 reduction on your third ability means you can try and hook and try and land your combo a lot quicker. Yasuo buffs are very interesting. He's gaining 4 AD, and he's also gaining some base damage on his ultimate. This is kind of scary, especially with the Solari Chargeblade buffs and lethal tempo buffs at the same time. Yasuo is basically getting 3 buffs this patch. I do feel like Yasuo is going to be a very, very strong. Maybe I'll have to give him a try myself, but I might go 0-10 a couple of times before I actually get a good gameplay with him or get to master him in any way. But these are pretty scary buffs for Yasuo. I feel like Yasuo mains are definitely going to use this, and Yasuo mid might become a very, very popular pick for sure. They basically didn't adjust Bambi Cinder. I guess they forgot about it. We missed adjusting Bambi's last patch, so we made our Sunfire Ages last patch, so we're making the adjustment now. Oh, okay, so it's just they adjusted Sunfire Ages last patch, but they forgot to adjust Bambi Cinder. So Bambi Cinder has also been reducing bonus minion and monster damage. All right, Relic Shield. So the big thing, and the big new thing that we did not see last week on Friday, is this thing here. This big, massive highlighted new thing. This is basically going to kill double support items in bot lane. If a support quest item owner is near an ally that also has a support quest item, the player cannot consume charges with their support item quest. So this basically kills double support item, double Relic Shield in bot lane, because if you go double Relic Shield now, you can't get the stacks of Relic Shield, you can't get the extra gold that you can get, you can't stack the item either. So yeah, this is a big thing, because double support items in bot lane was way too strong. Double Relic Shield, double Spectral Sickle as well. There was also a little bit of a bug with them as well. That's why most competitions restrict it to 1 per team. The thing is that you can still buy double support quest items. I'm interested to see whether it gets to a point where maybe the support buys the quest item in the early game, that gets fully completed, and then when that's completed, maybe the ADC can buy it instead. Maybe the ADC can buy Relic Shield and get that fully upgraded. Not too sure if that's worth it or not, but that definitely could be a thing in the game, which means that, you know, there could still be that bug going around where you get 200% gold on minions. But yeah, this is a big thing. Really big thing for bot lane. The double support quest items is no longer going to be a thing in the laning phase anyway. Maybe you can see it a little bit later on in the late game, but I'm not too sure if that'll be worth it. We'll have to wait and see. And also, they nerfed Relic Shield and Spectral Sickle. We saw this on Friday, but the extra gold you get for yourself has gone from 135% to 120%, and also the gold gained per charge has gone from 30 down to 25 for Spectral Sickle. So they're nerfing the support items ever so slightly, because I do feel like you do get a lot of gold with the support items, so nerfing that down ever so slightly. But I think this is a big thing. This is not what we saw on Friday, but it's a new thing now for the patch notes. So goodbye double support item meta, I guess. It was fun knowing you. But yeah, I think this is expected. It's good. I'm really happy with it. Really happy with it. Riftmaker buff. This is really scary. Someone actually pointed out, which is actually quite cool, that Riftmaker now gives you your W upgrade on Kai'Sa. So I might have to try maybe a hybrid Kai'Sa build. Maybe when you go double BF sword, Storm Razor, IE, Ruinous Hurricane to get your E upgrade or your third ability upgrade, then maybe Riftmaker 4th item, then you get all your abilities upgraded. And I think Riftmaker might be quite good as well, because you gain extra stacks, you gain extra true damage, you get the Omni Vamp as well, which will help you a lot with your healing. I definitely feel like Riftmaker can be very good on Kai'Sa. So we'll have to see how that works, because like I said, all you need to do now is build Riftmaker 1st item, and there you go. That's your W upgraded straight away. This might even make mid lane Kai'Sa a thing as well. Maybe you could just go W upgrade, Riftmaker 1st item, and go for that route if you want to. I mean, it's definitely possible. We'll have to wait and see. We'll definitely have to try mid lane Kai'Sa as well with this. Solari Chargeblade, as mentioned, does get a buff as well. The attack speed going up and the ability haste going up. I was kind of thinking about this a little bit on stream yesterday about what ADCs can maybe use Solari Chargeblade. You know, obviously Lucian is going to be the big one. Xayah might use Solari Chargeblade now because the extra ability haste you get. The attack speed is not that important, but it can help Kai'Sa, can help what's the word called? Can help Xayah a lot. Sorry, I was trying to think of the champion name. No, because I was also thinking at the same time, I was like, wait, how much attack speed does Kai'Sa need? Because I said Kai'Sa, and I thought maybe this is enough to get Kai'Sa's 3rd ability upgraded now. I'm not too sure. I'll have to check that. I'll have to check to see if Storm Razor plus Solari Chargeblade now gives you enough attack speed. Because the reason why you didn't go Solari Chargeblade as a 3rd item is because it didn't have enough attack speed with Storm Razor. But with this, I'm not too sure if it's enough. I think you might need 5% more with this, if I'm not mistaken. So I think Ruinous Hurricane gives you 45%. I'll have to double check and make sure of that. But yeah, I was thinking of different things in my head at the same time. That's what I was not saying. But yeah, Xayah could also be really good with it. Maybe as like a 3rd or 4th item. Because you normally go Storm Razor IE at the moment. Then you can maybe go Navori into Solari Chargeblade. Because Solari Chargeblade can work really well with Navori Quick Blades. That's a really good combo. That can definitely be used for Xayah now. Because you can go Navori Quick Blades, which got buffed. You can go Solari Chargeblade now, which also got buffed, which means your ability is going to be up more often. More Solari Chargeblade packs, stacks, more feathers, more damage. So I still feel like it's definitely going to be a pretty good change. I'm not too sure who else could go Solari Chargeblade. I'll probably have to test it and have a look at some champions and see what we can come up with. Then Lethal Tempo as well. Lethal Tempo is also getting buffed. This is a crazy buff. This buffs like, you know, Yasuo, Yone also buffs a bunch of AD carries at the same time, especially with Xayah. You know, Xayah Lethal Tempo buffs, Xayah Solari's Chargeblade buffs. It's definitely going to be a very interesting patch for AD carries. The maximum stack bonus has gone from 30 up to 40%, and you now get between 4% to 10% on range now. And then melee, you get 7 to 13%. So it's gone up by basically 1% overall to get the attack speed per stack. So very interesting. Very cool changes this pack, and also system changes as well. Physical magical vamp rebound omni vamp. I think the big thing about this is Gluttonous Greaves. I actually think Gluttonous Greaves might be really good boots now if you go with Riftmaker. So if you go like Riftmaker Gwen, for example, you can then go Gluttonous Greaves on top of that. You can get extra omni vamp now with Gluttonous Greaves. This also can work really well for any other champions that are going to be dealing true damage. I think Gluttonous Greaves might be really strong boots now. It was something that me and Snitch were talking about, saying like, you know, are they going to change the boots to Omnivamp, which exactly is what they're going to do. More and more Mortius as well. The healing is now going to turn to Omnivamp, and the same with Lee Sin Safeguard. So some very interesting changes with that. Like I said, I think Gluttonous Greaves Omnivamp now is going to be very strong. But yeah, that is pretty much everything for this patch. Like I said, a few new things. I think the big thing is definitely to do with the legendary queue. We've got legendary queue times and everything. And the other big change is definitely to Ekko changes that we didn't see on Friday, and also the double support item basically getting removed out of the meta. So yeah, a lot of big changes coming to patch 3.4a. Make sure you stay tuned on this channel for all the content you need of all the champion buffs and nerfs that I'll be covering in the new patch. So hopefully you enjoy the new patch. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next Wilder video. Peace.